Hey guys, it's Enderman103 coming to you with part 2 of my Project 39 playthrough, and as in the previous video, going to keep commentary pretty short, as this isn't a series going into in-depth in the rules. I kind of just want to get a playtest through this on YouTube to kind of show not only my playtest of the rules, but also to let the playtest itself kind of show the features that I've added to this variant, so that you guys can kind of just watch and gather what the rules are as we go along. So, that being said, we're on to the UK's turn, and they have $15 to start their turn. They're spending 14 of it on 2 transports because Germany was lacked the foresight they needed in their attacks against their navy, and they left us with quite a few ships here. So fortunately for the UK, they're going to have a very healthy navy, and that's going to allow them to get away with quite a lot. So we'll start the turn here by repairing all of our ships. Since Germany was kind enough to damage them, the rules were kind enough to repair them for us for free. So imagine that. So the UK is going to have one combat move, and that will be doing the Taranto raid. Now, I really enjoy that this is an option in this game, and a big shout out to Young Grasshopper, who was the first person to teach me about the Taranto raid in Global 1940. It's a good move in that game, and I believe it's a very good move in this game as well. So the UK is not able to bring any planes from England proper, but they have enough firepower here in the Mediterranean to hopefully take out this fleet in the Taranto, the Gulf of Taranto here. So what we're going to be bringing is this fighter here from Malta, going 1, 2. I'll have a movement of 3 left, since he came from an air base there. And then this tactical bomber starts its movement from Sea Zone 26, so that'll be 1, 2. That'll have 2 movements left. And then our fighter here in Egypt will go 1, 2, 3, also having 2 movements left. And joining all of that will be the destroyer, cruiser, aircraft carrier from Sea Zone 26, going 1, 2 into the Gulf of Taranto here. So, pretty comparable fleets and forces there. However, we get 2 additional dice on the British side in this attack, and I believe 2 additional hit points as well in total. So it is tilted in the favor of the UK. Now the dice haven't screwed me over before, and I know that the dice are biased towards none. They are impartial, so we'll see what they decide real quick. Okay, and the dice have decided that the UK is going to have a pretty dominating lead in the beginning of this game. So they were able to take out the Italian Navy there at the loss of their carrier and destroyer, which is a pretty big loss, but not in comparison with the fleet they were able to sink. And on top of that, that is an Italian transport that they have to, well, one less Italian transport that they have to worry about. Pardon me, just getting over pneumonia for the past week, so my voice is a little raspy and I may have a little cough. But let's go ahead and move on to our non-combat movements here. So all of our planes, and being in Sea Zone 23 here, are within 2 spaces of landing in Malta, which all 3 of them will do. So we'll have a nice Air Force there in Malta, our damaged cruiser will protect this transport back here, acting as a blocker, which is quite nice. And then we're going to do something that I have not done before in this variant, and that is these 3 fighters. We're actually going to move them down 1, 2, 3, and 4 into province. And the reason we're doing this is it will prevent Italy from attacking into province and being able to. This is 3 IPCs here. This will prevent Italy from being able to move into that territory and take it very easily. And so now if the Italians want that territory, it's going to cost them. They're going to have to dedicate pretty much all of their Navy and Air Force to triumph against that pretty powerful ground force now. And on top of that, we're going to move our 1 cruiser to Sea Zone 9 to act as a semi-blocker, and a destroyer here will come up to Sea Zone 4, and the battleship will join the rest of our fleet there in 11. And I think the rest of it is going to stay as it is. This is something I did want to bring up from the previous video. When a neutral is invaded, the world tension goes up. I did mention that in the last video. As neutrals are invaded and as the war escalates, world tension will be rising. And all that does is it gives IPCs to the UK. So whatever the world tension is at, the UK will gain that much compensation in IPCs. And so the more war the Axis do, the more money the UK will benefit from that. However, when someone invades a neutral, all of that neutral's territories join the opposite side. And so since Denmark was invaded by the Axis, all of the Danish territories and units become Britain-controlled, since Britain is the leader of the Allies. And so the Faroe Islands up here are the only other Danish territory besides Denmark itself. So the Faroe Islands become British-controlled now. And that doesn't really matter in, the big picture. It's probably not going to play a part. However, I did just want to throw it out there that since Denmark did turn to Allied control since they were invaded, the Faroe Islands are now British. So just wanted to point that out because I thought it was fun. And with that, I think we're finished with the UK's movements. Oh, no, we're not. We have 1 destroyer here in Gibraltar, and that is going to go 1 space over into the French fleet in 18, which is a pretty large fleet. It's a battleship, a cruiser, and a destroyer now. And that is just something that the Italians are going to, again, have to dedicate a lot of resource to deal with. So we'll move on to placing our units here. We'll place both transports into Sea Zone 11. And then we will gather our cash. So we're at an income of 15. And looking at our national objectives, we're going to get +2 for having a United Kingdom. Alright, we've got Sea Zones 12, 13, 12 is not free of enemy warships, so we don't get that one. +1 IPC per world tension, that's currently at 4, so that'll give us an extra $4. And +5 IPCs. American Lend-Lease hasn't kicked in yet. Okay, yeah, so the American Lend-Lease hasn't kicked in yet, so UK will end their turn with $21 plus the dollar they saved from last round, so $22 in the UK bank for round 2, and we will move on to Italy, see what they can do. Alright, so Italy is going to start their turn with $16. And they're going to spend all of that on 2 submarines and an artillery. Sadly, they cannot do much in the beginning of this game. They start pretty dang weak. But they're going to do what they can. And what they can do is help Germany out a little bit with the invasion of France. And so that's what they're going to attempt to do here. So, although the UK tried to prevent us from attacking here with those fighters, I think we're going to use what Italy's got and try to take those fighters down with us. So, boarding here from Rome will be 1 infantry and 1 artillery onto the transport, shifting over to move into Provence, and that will be assisted by an offshore bombardment from a cruiser, and then joining will be the 2 infantry and the artillery from Piedmont. And now, unfortunately, that's all the land units that we can send in. We can, however, send in some air units to assist, but this is going to be the really tricky part. So, France has a transport here, and that's a pretty big thorn in Italy's side. Like a very, very huge thorn in Italy's side, actually. And they can't really, they're not in a position to do anything about it. If they sent their entire fleet with their air force, the total hit points for this fleet, because cruisers and battleships have 2 hit points each, that fleet has 5 hit points in total, and that's pretty devastating for Italy at this point. And there's pretty much nothing they can do other than minimize the damage at this point. So minimize the damage they shall, and to do that, we're actually going to focus our attention on this British cruiser here. So they'll be taking their cruiser down there, and this is in attempts to prevent the British transport over there in Egypt from coming on over and picking off some freebies. So where we can defend ourselves as the Italians, we're going to try. Again, me losing my voice here. Again, just getting over pneumonia, so don't fully have my voice back yet. But praise God, it's much better than it has been. And so the Air Force will be joining our land battle, and that'll be at a movement of 1, 2, and 3. So they will each have 2 movements left. 2 movements for our Air Force there. And the destroyer is going to stay there just to kind of act as a buffer for that Navy. Our submarines might join that Navy there, might not. We'll see what happens. But let's go ahead and get these dice rolled before we make those decisions. So the dice were not forgiving to Italy at all. The combined French and English force there in Provence was able to take out a vast majority of the Italian land force and both Italian planes. Italy actually chose to sacrifice its air force there to air units instead of the final land unit, so that they could claim ownership of this territory for the turn. Now, France may very well take it back on the next turn, or on their upcoming turn, since they go next, but we'll see how that plays out. For now, though, Italy will gain that, go up $3. France down to 17. And Italy, oh, I forgot a combat move. Italy will be sending one of their infantry here from the Tripoli region into southern Tunisia. Now, this isn't worth an IPC, but it does give them a closer front to where they want to be. So now to placing units. The UK has a destroyer. The French do not, which means the French are not going to be able to attack the Italian submarines. But I did forget non-combat moves, which is very silly of me, because they need to move these guys over from Piedmont, or over into Piedmont from Veneto. Now, they can place down those two submarines. We'll do it in C-Zone 20 there, to give ourselves some sort of line of defense against the French Navy. And, of course, our artillery going in the only spot that it can. They're in Rome. So Italy now will be at a base income of 19 IPCs. And let's see what they've got in terms of national objectives. Alright, so each of the territories for... Alright, we don't have any of those because we're not expanding very much. Italy controls, nope. North Africa campaign. Northern Tunisia, we have southern Tunisia. Naval dominance. Alright, do we have more surface warships than the Allies? So we have 1, 2, 3, and the Allies have 1, 2, 3. So that's a tie, which means we don't have more. So they don't get that money either. So that's it. So Italy's going to end with 19 IPCs and gather no bonus in national objectives. Now, upcoming is France. France starts the game with a pretty massive economy of $20. They're down $3, but they can only produce 4 units, 4 land units at least, because they only have a factory on a territory worth 4 IPCs. So we'll cut the video real quick and take France's turn. Alright, here we go, the moment y'all have been waiting for. La mighty France. So they start, like I said, with $20. They're going to be spending it all. 2 tanks, 2 artillery. I think that's a very responsible first turn purchase for the French here. And now the French, as I said in this variant, they're not only rich, but they're also very powerful, and they're in a position to do quite a bit of damage. Now, they can't go willy-nilly and take over the world, but before they inevitably get conquered here by the joint Italian-German effort into France, they do have quite a military presence, quite a naval presence, and it's now up to them to be as much of a nuisance as they can, specifically to Italy, right up until their capital falls. And be a nuisance they shall. And the first way they're going to do that is by doing something probably a bit irresponsible, but they're going to come down and pick on Tripoli as their first move. So we're going to take both of our infantry here in Algiers. We're going to board them up on our transport, and we're going to go 1, 2, so that we're in the Malta Sea Zone, and offload both of those fellas there into Tripoli. Now, they will only be attacking at 1 each. However, attacking with both infantry allows us to bombard with both the cruiser and the battleship. So that'll give us 2 at 1, and 1 at 3, and 1 at 4 for our first round of combat, which might be enough to actually conquer the territory. Now, of course, we won't hold on to it. Italy does have a tank in North Africa that can sweep back, take the territory if necessary, but having it for a turn would be pretty useful, and France will get that $2. And so that'll be one of the combat moves they have. The other one will be reclaiming this territory of Provence, and the way they'll do that, they're going to send the one guy from Occitane. They're going to send the mobile infantry from Brittany here, 1, 2, and that'll be supported by the fighter from France moving 1. So that fighter will have 4 moves left, and no other French units are going to be joining this. So it'll be an infantry, mech, and a fighter versus that Italian artillery piece. So I'll roll these 2 battles and we will see what happens. Alright, so the dice continuing not to favor Italy too heavily. The French will conquer Provence back. They did lose the infantry to do it, but that's they're gaining that back with the $3 that they're gaining from owning the territory. So no big deal for the French here. And here in North Africa, they were not able to conquer Tripoli there. Pretty good rolling defensively from the Italians, and sadly the bombardments were not enough to make up for the very poor offensive ability of infantry units. So the French left with an Italian-controlled Tripoli there. So for non-combat moves for the French, they're going to move infantry up, mech up, kind of reinforcing here in North Africa, northern Tunisia there, I mean. This guy over here will move to Jordan and Palestine. And then all of this crap here is going to move up to Alsace-Lorraine is the name of this territory. Now the reason the French are grouping up here in Alsace-Lorraine is because up to 6 infantry there in Alsace-Lorraine get to defend at a 3 instead of a 2, and that is to represent the Maginot Line. So those infantry there are actually defending as though they were tanks. Now that is only in that territory, which means Germany does have the ability to go around if they wanted to invade Switzerland or invade Belgium and Luxembourg there. They could do that, and it would nullify that defense. But keeping those troops there, while there is no other immediate front between the French and the Germans, is not a bad move for them at all. And so, to quickly move on so I can stop talking, we'll land our fighter and place our French builds here. So 2 tanks and 2 artillery in Paris. And we'll collect our money, which is a base income of $20. Because that's what France starts with, and they still have all their money. And in terms of national objectives, they do get 1 for colonialism, which is controlling Morocco, northwestern Algeria, northern Tunisia, and Syria. So the French will end their turn with 22 IPCs ready to spend on round 2. And while we're at the end of France's turn here, we'll move on to the very last country of the round, since the United States is not at war. Yugoslavia gets to go. They're not at war with anybody, but they get to build up a little military. Yes, they sure do. They get to participate, that's for darn sure. So they start with an income of $5. They'll spend 4 of it on an artillery, and then they'll place their artillery right there in Serbia. And they'll gain their $5 back. And they do not have any national objectives. So Yugoslavia will just gain their $5, end at 6. And that's the end of the first round of Project 39. So, of course, I'm making some mistakes as I go along here, because I'm just a player who's not only trying to test these rules, but also trying to have fun and test different strategies and try new things, of course, here. And the fun thing about this variant for me as well is there's not a solidified surefire strategy for each country developed. So I have that freedom to kind of go and try new things, since there's not You know, there's not a tried and true way to play as either the Axis or the Allies or the Comintern. But that's round 1, guys, in the books. Sorry again for my voice and for the coughing, but I was sick for 10 days with pneumonia, and it was right after I released the first video in this series. So now that I'm feeling a lot better, and I mean praise God, I am feeling so much better. But now that I am feeling better, I wanted to get a video out to you guys quickly so you can maintain some interest in this as we go forward, and then hopefully in a few days when I'm fully healed up and have my voice back, we can get back into making videos of this more often, continuing the rounds, so you guys get to see more of the rules, more of the map. But for now, I bid you guys a happy Monday. As of recording this, I'll probably release this tomorrow, and when it'll be Tuesday for y'all. So hope you are enjoying the videos. If you are, if you have any comments or questions about the variant, drop them down below in the comments. I'll make sure to read them and get back to you guys. But until the next video, Cinderman saying peace out and God bless, guys.